Welcome to Professor Katz. Have you ever wondered why certain noises make your feline friend come literally sprinting from the other side of the house, while other sounds get absolutely zero reaction? Well, in this explainer, we're diving into the fascinating auditory science behind our countdown of 5 specific sounds that attract cats.
We've all been there, right? You call, you plead, you bargain, and nothing. Your cat just completely ignores you. It's this universal frustration for pet parents everywhere. But here's the secret. It's not necessarily them just being stubborn. The ultimate solution to actually getting your cat's attention, it all lies in understanding that feline biology is fundamentally different from ours.
Okay, let's dive into this structured scientific countdown. We're going to look at the feline ear, then sound 1, ps, ps, ps. Sounds 2 and 3, speech and names. Sound 4, food rattling. And finally, sound 5, cat music.
Section 1. The feline ear. Let's quickly establish the baseline science of an ear that is perfectly fine-tuned for hunting.
So while human hearing peaks around 3 kHz, a cat's peak sensitivity is way up at 8 kHz. And their maximum frequency range, it reaches an astonishing 64 kHz. To put that into perspective, that's more than an entire octave above our own hearing. Plus, physically speaking, while we have just 6 sets of ear muscles, cats boast around 30 sets. This lets them effortlessly rotate those little cone-shaped ears 180 degrees. They are, quite literally, biologically superior listeners compared to humans, capable of pinpointing a sound's exact location in a fraction of a second.
Section 2, sound 1, ps, ps, ps. Think about it for a second. How does your own cat react when you make this infamous noise?
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that ps, 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 ps isn't just some random whisper. It's actually a high-frequency staccato noise. Because it pairs a high pitch with an interrupted consonant, it closely mimics naturally relevant sounds in the wild, like the rustling of leaves or the sudden scurrying of a rodent. For a cat, this specific frequency triggers a deeply rooted evolutionary prey drive. Their biology basically compels them to investigate it.
But, of course, because cats are both predator and prey, sudden sounds can trigger very different reactions. You really got to learn to read their body language. If your cat is intrigued by ps, 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 you'll see positive cues, like a loose, upright tail, ears pointing forward, or maybe even a responsive meow. On the flip side, if they interpret that sudden staccato noise as a threat, well, you're going to see fearful cues. Think hissing, ears pinned flat back against their head, a crouched, tense posture, and widely dilated pupils.
Moving right along to Section 3, sounds 2 and 3, speech and names. These two are heavily linked by early socialization. In the wild, adult pre-domesticated felines rarely meow at each other. They mostly communicate through scent and body language. Adult meowing is actually a post-domestication extension of kitten behavior. Basically, they learned to do it to solicit our attention. That's exactly why high-pitched, cat-directed speech, which is essentially baby talk, works so incredibly well. Cats learn these positive associations during early kittenhood socialization. So when you use a high-pitched voice, you are literally speaking their domesticated love language.
And this learned socialization extends directly to their own name, making it our third sound. Calling a cat's name is a super powerful attractant, particularly if they ever get outside and get lost. Because they possess those incredible hearing and homing abilities we talked about earlier, they rely heavily on familiar sounds to navigate. The sound of their specific owner calling their specific name cuts right through all that environmental noise and draws them safely back home.
Section 4, sound 4, food rattling. This is basically a fascinating psychological experiment taking place right in your living room. And this brilliantly illustrates classic Pavlovian conditioning, broken down into 3 super simple steps. First, you crinkle a plastic bag or pop the top of a metal can. Second, you feed your cat some delicious food. And third, the cat quickly forms an ironclad association between that high-frequency rustle and a tasty reward. Because their hearing is so incredibly sensitive to higher frequencies, that crinkle bypasses everything else and goes straight to the reward center of their brain. Now, there is one funny caveat here, which we like to call the lazy exception. If you rattle their favorite treat jar and your cat completely ignores you, don't immediately panic about their hearing. Sometimes, their sheer, unadulterated laziness temporarily overrides years of strict conditioning. I mean, cats sleep up to 16 hours a day, and sometimes they're just enjoying a really good nap and honestly cannot be bothered to get up.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 5, Sound 5, Cat Music. This is definitely the most surprising one on our list.
This isn't just some quirky novelty either. It's rigorous academic science. Researchers at the University of Wisconsin and the University of Maryland specifically set out to study and compose cat-centric music. They knew cats in shelters experience really high levels of stress, and they wanted to discover if auditory enrichment could help them down. But for it to work, it had to be explicitly designed for how a feline ear actually functions.
To test this out, the researchers played relaxing human classical music, like pieces from Bach and Fauré, and the cats basically ignored it entirely. But when they played the species-specific compositions, it was a totally different story. The cat-centric compositions successfully grabbed their attention because the composers crafted the music to perfectly mirror natural feline vocalizations. They used the exact tempos of purring and suckling and incorporated sliding notes set an octave higher than human voices. It spoke directly to their biology.
And the results were just wonderful. Both younger and older cats responded heavily to it. In fact, their response was so overwhelmingly positive that many of the cats actively approached the speakers and began rubbing their scent glands, which are located on the sides of their heads, right against the audio equipment. In cat behavior, rubbing scent glands means they're claiming an object. So they enjoyed these targeted sounds so much, they literally tried to claim the music speakers as their own.
So, from their highly evolved radar-like ears to the evolutionary trigger of pss pss pss, the learned power of baby talk, the classic conditioning of food crinkles, and the incredible science of species-specific cat music, we've covered a whole lot of ground today. I'll leave you with this question. How will you use auditory science to communicate with your feline companion today? Will you try speaking in a higher octave, or maybe test out some purring tempo music? If you enjoyed this explainer and want to keep unlocking the fascinating science of the world around us, make sure you hit that subscribe button.